What's going on, guys? So let me tell you about the story, how my first business venture led me to a very sticky situation where I actually ended up getting robbed. Yes, I ended up getting robbed, and this is the story. So the year was 2017, and at that point I was going to college. I had multiple different jobs going on at the same time because I wanted to help out with bills and stuff. But I had a friend that was reselling shoes, and he was making a good amount of money, very profitable, and he was selling Yeezys. So at that point, Yeezys were really hot commodity. People were spending double, quadruple the price for retail because of a very limited quantity. So we found a way where we can get it for retail and then resell it for, obviously double the price. So the way it worked was there's a Facebook group where people can list whatever shoes they have to offer, and it's a community of people that are interested in shoes and that love shoes and all that. This one time I had the shoes that I was selling for around $600. So I listed it, I got multiple different DMs, some of them were lowballing, so I didn't really accept it. But I found this one guy who was, comfortable paying the entire amount. So I was like, okay, this guy's not even gonna negotiate. Okay, cool. Can you come to me? Because the way it worked was you meet up in person and then you transact. So I told him, hey, can you actually come to my neighborhood so that we can do it in more of a public place? He said, hey, I can't really come there because I don't have a car, but if you come to my neighborhood, I'll pay you extra for the gas. So at that point I had nothing to lose. He was gonna pay for gas and I was actually gonna make profit out of the shoes. So I was like, okay, cool, I can come. So he said, hey, we're gonna meet at the metro station. And I really didn't think of it being any bad because hey, it's a metro station, there's people, and I'm sure if anything goes wrong, they're gonna be there to kind of witness it. So right now we're actually on the way to this location where I got robbed. I was like 4 years ago. Hopefully I don't find the same guys. If I do, they're gonna take my car this time. So hey, give me your car, everything. I'm gonna walk home. Last time they took my shoes, this time it's gonna be my car. I got there on time and I called him and was like, hey, I'm here, where you at? And he said, hey, I'm on the way, there's traffic, I'll be there in 10 minutes. So 20 minutes go by, no show. So I called him and it's like, hey, where you at? I'm still waiting here. I was like, hey, I'm almost there, give me 5 minutes. So another 10 minutes go by. And I was like, what is going on? So I ended up texting him. I was like, dude, I'm about to leave. You're not here yet. So as soon as I texted him that, I was like, yeah, I'm right there. And then I was sitting in my car and I had the shoes on the passenger seat. And then I can see in the rearview mirror that there's 2 guys walking up to me. He's like, hey, I'm here. So I was like, okay, those might be the guys. And I saw his photo on Facebook. So I was like, okay, cool. I can cross match it. So I got out of the car and said, hi, what's going on? So he said, hey, I want to take a look at the shoes. I was like, it's very usual dealing with shoes like that. People want to verify that it's real and all that stuff. So I take it out and then I put it on top of my car. It was a big box, so I put it on top of my car. So he took out the shoes and then he started looking at it, examining it, and then he was like, why are you selling it? Blah, blah, blah. So this guy took out a big chunk of cash and started counting. I was like, wow, I'm actually getting paid, so it's all good. His friend goes and then picks up the shoes from the top of my car. And I was like, okay, he's paying me, so he's just holding it for him, right? The friend is holding the shoes and then he starts counting and then he stops and then he puts the money in his pocket and starts walking away while his friend has the shoes. It took me a little bit to kind of realize what's happening, and I was like, wait a second, dude, where's the money? Where are you taking my shoes if you're not paying me, right? And then they started walking fast. And I tried to chase them and they swung at me. So at that point I had 2 options, whether to fight this out and try to get my shoes or yell or something, or just just forget about it. I chased them around a corner. So while I was going back to my car, there's another guy sitting in his car right next to me. So he got out, I was like, dude, you got robbed, didn't you? I was like, yes. He was like, hey, could I help you? I have $2 in my car. I have a machete in my car, but I just didn't want to get caught up in that situation. I was like, whatever. So yeah, I was just sitting right here. I was parked this way and obviously there's no way to go outside. And as you can see, there's people right there. There's people walking around. And at that point, it was in the evening, at the end of the day. So there's so much more people over here. So I thought, hey, it's gonna be cool. No one's gonna say anything. That did not happen, right? So where I was, they came from that side right there. And they also took off that way. So I texted the guy, I was like, hey dude, I really don't want to have any issues. I don't want to, press charge or anything. Just give me my shoes back and I'll forget everything. And he texted me saying, good luck catching me, LOL. I was like, at that point, I really didn't think there's gonna be any way to, catch him. So I was like, whatever. So I called the cops and I told them, hey, this happened. They took forever. So they took 30 minutes to an hour. So this one cop car came and then he took all the details. I showed him the photo. So what I typically used to do is actually take a screenshot of the, the person's profile before I meet up with them, just for insurance purposes, right? Like, you know, if anything happens, they have a screenshot of it, because like afterwards they can just block me, right? Which happened when I actually looked up his profile. He blocked me, so I can't even look him up. But I had that screenshot that I took beforehand, so I showed it to cops. A few minutes later, 2 other cop cars come, and then it was like, hey, like, you know, he told them all the information. And one of the cops was like, hey, like, let me see the picture. So I go ahead and show him. It was like, wait a second, like, this guy looks familiar. I feel like I've pulled him over not too long ago. So there's nothing we can do right now, but we're going to go ahead and pass this on to the detectives, and they're going to reach out to you. So I was like, okay, cool. So I go home, did not tell anyone, because my mom was not super supportive of that type of business because of the risk involved, obviously. So I didn't tell anyone other than my close friends. Weeks go by, and then I get a call from the detective saying, hey, I'm the one taking over the case. And then he asked me a bunch of information about like how much the shoes cost, what happened, blah, blah, blah. I was like, after a few months, I still didn't hear back anything, right? So I was like, whatever, like, you know, this is a lost cause. Like, I'm never gonna get my money or shoes back. So I completely forgot about it. So I get a call from the detective saying, I think we have your guy. Can you come to the station and see if it's the right person? So I was like, holy smokes, I don't even know how that happened, but I was like, okay, cool, I'll definitely come. So I drive there, go in the station, and they put me in this room where it's very small. Actually, like, it's something that I've seen in movies where people are like actually like handcuffed to like a table. There's like that bar thing, he's sitting in this tiny room, told me to wait there. So it's like 10-15 minutes. I was like, wait a second. Like, I was kind of like nervous. Even though I was not the one committing the crime, I was kind of nervous because I've never been there. He comes in and he shows me this one full page of like a bunch of mugshots of guys. So he was like, hey, like, can you identify your guy from this list? And I automatically saw him, yep, right here. So they actually got the person that I was looking for. So I showed him, he was like, are you 100% sure? I was like, yes, I'm 100% sure. So I signed that and I gave it to him. So he said, hey, we'll get back to you with any information that we need. So I was like, okay, cool. So I go home, months go by, and I was like, you know, they got the guy, so I don't even know what's happening. So this one day I check the mail and I get a mail from the district court. So at that point, when I saw that, the first thing I thought of was like, okay, I think I have to go to court. It's probably like a subpoena to go to court. So I go home and then open the mail, and it's a check for $600 for the shoes that I was actually selling. So I didn't even know that was a thing. So they sent me a check. I didn't even go to court or anything. So after getting the check, at that point, I felt like I learned a lesson. I was gonna be more cautious to where I go, be selective to who I do business with. So instead of doing it on Facebook group, I decided to put it on an app called OfferUp. So it's a local app where you can actually like sell product, whatever it is. So I listed the shoes, similar Yeezys. I was, you know, kind of doubling my money. A few days later, I've gotten multiple different messages, but there was only one person that was serious enough to say, hey, like, I'll make the offer. And at that point, I didn't really want to go anywhere else other than my neighborhood. So I was like, hey, I'm not gonna do this deal unless you come to my neighborhood. And then I asked him to meet me in front of like this little town center where there's a lot of people, a lot of things going on. They called me and said, hey, like, we're not able to meet you in front of the Apple store. I told them to meet me in front of the Apple store. They said, but we're around the corner, but in front of a restaurant, right? We're supposed to meet in front of this Apple store right here, right? So the reason I asked them to meet here is like, I see there's so many people, restaurants everywhere. But then they said, let's go down the street over there, which I was, you know, fine with because still it's downtown. So they pulled him right there, and then I gave him the shoes. They looked at it, you know, he started negotiating the price, and at that point, we already talked about the price. I was like, hey, like, you know, I'm not here to negotiate. If you don't want it, I can just leave. He gives me a stack of 50s, right? He counted it. So as soon as he gives me the money, they start taking off and going around that way. Like, they went around the corner. So I was like, wait a second, why are they running? Like, you know, they gave me the money. So I started counting, and the first 50 was good, and the second one is completely fake. I can't even see like a piece of white paper on the side. They didn't even print it correctly. So as soon as I realized that, I started running, trying to follow them, but they disappeared. Until this day, I don't even know where they went, but they went around that corner. I'm sure they probably went this way again. Not sure until this day, I don't know. And there's some cameras around here, and none of them work, which is very surprising. He tried to negotiate the price like right on the spot, right? He was like, can you give me $50 off? Out of the $450, only $50 was real. And I think that's the $50 that was actually trying to negotiate to completely give me like fake money. But I call the cops, they come, they take the fake money. They asked me, where did this happen? So I showed them around and I was like, hey, like, can you not get them through that? Because I was not able to capture the, you know, license plate because they were going so fast. Do any of those cameras work? You know, like, you know, most cameras don't actually work. So that was the second time that I actually ended up getting robbed again. So that was actually the turning point where I was like, okay, like, I'm completely done with dealing with people physically, so I have to figure out something that I can do online, right? So that's when I started doing research, and then I was fortunate enough to get hit by an ad from Shopify talking about drop shipping, and then I actually got hooked, and then, you know, I'm here where I am today, 4 years later. But the biggest lesson that I've learned is doing an online business is much better than doing physical, especially starting off if you're a young entrepreneur. I recommend doing that because, you know, there's less friction. You don't have to deal with a lot of people, and you're gonna meet a lot of people that are not so good and they just want to take advantage of you. But, you know, if you do stuff online, then you avoid that stress and that situation that can potentially happen. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video and if you want more story times like this, make sure to go ahead and leave a comment. Make sure to go ahead and like this video, as it really does help the channel. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.